Okay, so what I'm gonna look at today is living comfortably. I mean, that's like the moral thing a lot of people want to do. Like, a lot of people want to live comfortably. But instead of getting so complicated and, I want millions of dollars and I want the newest cars, the newest house, the newest everything, let's break that down so that way we have at least a simple way of starting out. So, of course, with anything, it's very dependent on the area that you're trying to thrive or strive towards. So, depending on your state and depending on like where you live, this may change. However, from an average consensus, the most you can make to live comfortably is about 60,000. 60,000 at most. And if you break that down, per day or by hour, that's probably around $240 a day. Just about. So if that's $240 a day, that's your goal. You're trying to hit 240. So there's many scenarios that you can try to think of, but I want to break down each of them to take away the negatives. Then we'll work our way towards the positives. So the first one I want to talk about is the first scenario a lot of people would think to get to $240 a day is, hey, I'll get two jobs that can pay it. So you can do this. However, I feel like this is a waste of time because with two jobs, if anything, if we can look at it like this way, if you're doing $12 an hour and then you're going to go find another job that does $12 an hour, that's cool on paper. However, once you start adding in the hours, so for example, if that 12-hour job allows you to work for 6, 7, or 8, and your next job at most would be around like 4 or 5, there's so many hours in a day. So if your job is like a 9 to 5 and then you're going to pick up a shift from like maybe 5 to 10, it still gives you like 5 hours. But if you add it all together, it still wouldn't be enough. Like, it's good money, don't get me wrong, but you're still short. And that's the main problem with that scenario because there's only a certain amount of hours in the day for people to actually earn that amount of cash. So that scenario might not be the best. However, there's another option. There's like, okay, what if I do the 2-hour jobs or the two jobs and then I work like maybe a DoorDash, a delivery service type of job, package delivery, whatever. Like, that's the easy, I sign up today and I can start working from home at any time. Those big fancy advertisements. So the problem with this one, of course, is the same thing with the first, is the amount of hours in the day. Even if you were to start your Uber shift or your DoorDash shift or anything like that early in the morning before you go into your 9 to 5, the thing is, a lot of these DoorDashes, Ubers, and everything have peak hours for a lot of customers. And of course, based on your territory. If you're out rural, like out there in the boonies, it's going to be very hard for people to actually use those services because, well, you're far out there. But even within the city, there's certain peak hours that a lot of people aren't even going to utilize that service anyway. Like, sure, you could find a couple people needing an Uber around like 4 a.m., 2 a.m., really peak early hours of the day for stuff like that. But it wouldn't be a lot of money coming in. At most, you'd probably get like what, $20 or something like that. And if you look at the original number that we got, which is 156, even with that additional 20, it's still not enough. And like I said before, you have to go in for a 9 to 5 and then 5 to 10. So you won't really be able to initiate enough of the profits at that time to even get to that 200 and what was the 200 and what mark? 240? Yeah, 240 mark. So to get to that mark. So yeah, that wouldn't even work as much either. So again, another waste of time. So that's the main thing with those. And a last scenario I would think that a lot of people would come up with is selling stuff. Selling stuff is like one of those big things that a lot of people are like, okay, so I can do Uber, I can do DoorDash, I can do two jobs. What about if I start selling stuff or signing up for, stuff online, do these surveys and fill out like 50 of those a day and I can earn some cash. So if you start heading all this up, so let's before we go further, two jobs, you're doing Uber and DoorDash, and you're gonna do online services and stuff. Listen, you're only human. You're not a machine. Eventually, you need some downtime, you need some rest, and if you're working in 9 to 5, depending on the work, you kind of need your energy for that. So yeah, so you're selling stuff locally, maybe that's probably what you're gonna think about, or selling stuff online. So let's start off with locally. Locally, sure, you could. However, selling stuff locally with anything, depending on what you're selling, doesn't really matter. It depends on your local area. If the need isn't there, then you won't really make that much. In fact, a lot of people will exhaust most of their resources in the first 2 to 3 months because, one, once you need something, like, I don't know, what if you're selling a desk or something? No one's going to need that desk again unless you're constantly making it. And if you're not making something, like manufacturing it yourself, then I feel that you're just going to sell already products that people have or products that people are trying to get rid of, and you're offering your services to sell them for them. And doing that, you run out. So a lot of people think I just sell some stuff around the house. Once you sell that one thing around your house, you don't have it anymore. So therefore, you can't make this 240 a day consistent. So that's a big problem there. And then, of course, with the territory, depending on okay, say you sell a bunch of stuff in your local area, now you move up north, or maybe move towards more west or east. Once you exhaust those resources there, you start to lose traction. Like the $240 a day becomes more stagnant. Even if you were to make it, it doesn't become a consistent thing that you can earn every single day. And I feel like that's the main goal we're trying to hit here in order to get that $240 a day to live comfortably in the United States of America. So, okay, long-winded explanation. What are the better options? What can I do in order to get $240 a day just to live comfortably? And this is just an average, but just to live comfortably, right? So for me, looking over the data and the different scenarios, and again, please share if there's any other scenarios you have in mind. We can look through and see what benefits there are. So getting back to it, I think the best option for you, and I know people are gonna hate to hear this, but better jobs. Better jobs is literally the biggest thing you can do. So for 60,000, I would say that's roughly so about $28, right? So $28 is literally high end, depending on your area, high end payment for an hourly wage. So that's not like a customer service job off rip. That's not like I'm going to work in the warehouse, off rip. I'm just going to go do some DoorDash off rip. Getting $28 an hour requires a very high skill. And I'll get into that a little later. But yes, better jobs is the best option you have. So finding something that's going to pay you $28, $25-ish, $30 would be ideal. But of course, getting to those high wages depends on your skill set and your history. It's not an entry level fee. So with that being said, if you're going to get a better job, find a high paying skill or have a high paying skill. So this is why people like your mom and your dad and many people tell you, make sure your resume is built. So that way, when people look at it, they can offer you these higher salaries. And of course, with work experiences, internships, and any type of connections you have, people can promote you to those $28 an hour, $30 an hour jobs because you earned the right to achieve those. Yeah, without it, it comes off as very, what's the word? You're just not experienced enough to achieve those wages. So if you don't have those skills, I recommend developing those skills right away. In fact, you can do it from home. You can do it now, listening to this video. And not to overwhelm you with information, I can do a video about that later. But getting those high paying skills, you can definitely Google search it real quick and find out what skills are paying that high wages. And even if you can't get the job right away with those high skills and wages, then I definitely recommend doing an internship to work your way up, or at the very least go to the company that you can see that their hourly wages, if you work your way up, will eventually get there. And yeah, that would be the best course of action. It sounds hard, it sounds like the most mundane thing, but if you want to live comfortably, that would be the case. Doing this whole workarounds of, you know what, man, I'm just gonna sell this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do Uber drive, I'm gonna get 3 jobs, I'm gonna get 4 jobs, I'm gonna do 5, 24 hours in a day. You're only human, you need some energy, you need some rest. So let's not even waste our time, and let's look at the optimal stuff. And if you don't want to get the new skills, and if you don't want to get the new job, I don't know why, but let's just say you don't. What other options do I have for that? I feel like the only thing I can really recommend is branding, branding yourself. And no, I don't mean start an Instagram thing right away, but I mean more the fact that, okay, so let's say you don't want to do working for corporate or anything like that, or developing skills to eventually go work with corporate, and you want to work for yourself, I say branding. So branding builds loyalty, it builds trust, and it builds expertise. This allows people to trust you depending on what you're doing, whether or not you're selling stuff, or you're commissioning stuff, or you're consulting, or any service you're providing to your community or online. You have to build up your branding so people can trust you. So once you build this up, and it can take pretty long. It could take up to a month, a year, 2. It really depends on how fast you grow and how fast you get in front of people's eyes and attention, and enough for them to share it. But once you start branding yourself, then you can charge the fee that you want. So instead, you can say, okay, instead of getting $30 an hour, the more I work with this person, I could say, hey, I'm going to charge $240 every single client I get. And if you're able to get a client for Monday through Saturday, Monday through Sunday, and you can do that for a whole month, you're well on your way to getting to that comfortable lifestyle. But again, with branding, it comes with its own unique problems, and not to get too in depth with it, but just basically, if you're going to brand something and you create a service, make sure the service warrants that high price tag. Because if you do, I don't know, what's a very thing that a lot of people need, but you can't really charge that much, otherwise it's insane. So it's like, let's say you're doing car washes, right? And not just like luxury brands, you're doing like any car that's coming in. I do car washes. So let's just say you're doing $240 a car. Sure, that sounds crazy, right? Like I could just go down to the dealership or anything like that and get my car free for my service, or I can just go to the machine itself to do it. But I get it, some car enthusiasts like me would be like, nah, you gotta do it by hand, man. You don't wanna scratch the paint or anything like that. But yeah, even if you're gonna do that, you have to provide a service that warrants that $240 price tag. So if it's just you and it's just your car washing service without any employees, without any of the merchandise that a lot of car enthusiasts think that are really good for their cars, and even then you're taking car enthusiasts away from their cars and you're doing any other car. So it's not even you're targeting luxurious brands. So yeah, it gets kind of muddy when it comes to like, oh, $240, why? So you got to explain why. But yeah, that would be my tip if you want to earn a comfortable living here in the United States. Like I said again, and I said it 3 times by now, this is an average. This is based off your living area. So same thing, all you have to do is find out what the comfortable living is in your area and find out how much that is a day. And then of course, do the little scenarios I had for you by finding a better job, finding a higher paying skill, developing that. And if you don't want to do corporate, then brand yourself before you go into business for yourself. Really build up that brand so people can trust you and do a service that people will think like, okay, that's worth $240. Anyways, I'll be here for a while and I got more videos coming.